There are moments in life when everything aligns, when the work you do and the person you are feel like the same thing. For Elizabeth O'Brien, that happened on a basketball court. Liz had spent her life building something special, a college basketball coaching career defined by leadership that shapes people on and off the court.
I coached college basketball for over a decade. It's what I knew I wanted to do as my dream.
Then came West Point.
Somebody came to me and said, I think you need to go interview up at West Point. And I said, no, I want to go to University of Southern Miss. And they said, just take a ride, go through the process. I got up there. I spent 2 days up there, and I never left. I was just hook, line, and sinker. So it was really a seminal moment, I felt like, in my coaching career to go coach the future leaders of America.
West Point gave her more than a coaching post. It gave her a life she hadn't planned on. Among the athletes she crossed paths with was a wrestler sidelined by injury. And somehow, in that unlikely pause in both their lives, they found each other, fell in love, and married. Liz's husband was active duty, and they had to move per his orders. First, to Hawaii.
And I ended up at the University of Hawaii under a great coach there, but I had to take a job that I had done probably 12 years early, at the early part of my career, just so I could stay in college basketball.
After Hawaii, then California, then Kansas, Kentucky, Germany, and back to DC. 7 places, 9 years. Military service rarely moves just one person. It moves families, careers, and identities. With every move, the question got harder. Is there a college in that town? Is there a basketball program? Is there a job open? And slowly, quietly, one of the best coaches in the country found herself starting over again and again and again. Not because she failed, but because her commitment to her husband's service meant her career always came second. So she called a friend at Hiring Our Heroes, an organization creating pathways for military spouses to find meaningful work in an evolving job market.
And she kind of laughed and smiled and said, I have an opening here at Hiring Our Heroes. Would you interview? And she told me about the mission. I said, yes, I will come. This resonates with me. And so at the age of 40, after having coached Division I basketball for quite a while, I took the lowest paying job at Hiring Our Heroes.
She brought with her everything she had ever learned about leading people, building teams, and refusing to quit.
A lot of the pieces I learned as a college basketball coach that I layer in every day when I go to work. That coach, teach, mentor, guide mentality never stops.
Liz is now a senior vice president at Hiring Our Heroes. The court may have changed, but the coaching never stopped. In this episode of Army Matters, our hosts sit down with Liz O'Brien and Josh Fugate, an Army spouse who has benefited from the Career Forward program Liz created. They explore why military spouse employment isn't just a personal issue, it's a readiness issue. This is a conversation about leadership without rank, service without ceremony, and the force behind the force. I'm Carrie Varouhakis, and this is Army Matters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Army Matters. I am your co-host, the 15th Sergeant of the Army, Sergeant of the Army retired Dan Dailey, and I am here with a really nice guy.
Yes, on a Friday morning in the Washington, D.C. area, the 66th Inspector General, Lieutenant General retired Leslie C. Smith. Hey, Mr. Blue Eyes.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's Friday.
Yeah.
It's starting to warm up a little bit here in the D.C. area. You know, we've been under this freezing cold. Yeah, but let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Something you did, I mean, we all did.
Yeah, we all did.
Was move all the time.
Yes.
How many times did you move?
I'm afraid to count.
I mean, just roughly.
More
I mean,
than 10, less than 25. How about that?
Yeah, I was 11, and that's actually low
Was 11?
for a career guy because, well, during the war, we stayed in the same place for 10 years because we went back and forth to Iraq. So normally that would have been a couple more moves there.
Right. But officers can't do stuff like that.
No.
I
actually liked moving.
Ooh.
I did.
Okay. You like moving? Why'd you like moving?
It's because I got to see different places, and do different things. It was like every 4 years we're going to a brand new place, and it's like an adventure. And you got to find out where the mall is and where all the shopping places, and but there's a lot of burden too.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really what we're going to focus on today is the challenges of being married to a service member.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how many different jobs did your wife have throughout your career?
5 or 6. How about Miss Holly? How did Holly manage home life and work?
She was well established when I married her, right? She had her own accounting business.
Yeah.
And she gave it all up. And she
for good old blue eyes.
And then it was hard, because as a service member, we have a job, right? Yeah. We know when we get there, we're gonna, it's guaranteed. But the challenge with a spouse employment, which we're going to focus on today, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Here's the challenge: is she had to change careers, and she couldn't build anything. And honestly, employers go, "Hey, I don't have any continuity with this person. They're married to a service member. So they usually get lower salaries. Yeah. Right? They're not going to get any promotions in the company. Right. And it's hard. And so she's had to change jobs and
many times.
Yeah.
So why are we talking about all this, Dan?
Well, because we have somebody that took this to heart. Actually, and she also has a very interesting career path.
Yes, she does.
But she also married into this world we lived in for so long. Right. But she said she wanted to make a difference. Mm-hmm. So, and then we're also going to have another actively serving Army spouse.
That's
talk
right.
about the trials and tribulations and the achievements if you work hard together. So let's bring on our guests today.
Okay.
Both Liz O'Brien and Josh Fugate. Liz runs Hiring Our Heroes, which we're going to get into today, but it's a foundation that helps service members and their spouses find employment. And we're going to talk to Josh Fugate, who is actually living the dream of an Army spouse right now, way up in Alaska.
Way up there.
With the challenges of moving and finding employment as well. Liz, Josh, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Liz. Welcome, Josh.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. And I also feel like I should sit up a little straighter and hope that nobody makes me do push-ups.
You should. You might
we
have
wouldn't
to do
that to you. Come on. Hey, Josh. Welcome to Army Matters.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Thank you all for having us on.
So, should we call you Elizabeth or should we call you Liz?
You should call me Liz. That would be great.
So, Josh, over to you. So where are you right now in the world?
Yeah, so I'm in Fort Wainwright, Alaska, up in Fairbanks. So we're pretty far up here. We've been here for a little over a year and a half, and we're in the middle of our second winter.
So, Josh, a real quick question before we get started here. What do military spouses bring to the table for employers? What's unique about them?
Yeah. I think the biggest trait I would say that I bring is, just the ability to adapt and overcome. Personally, for me, my wife, I, dedicated, when she enlisted to just fully supporting her and fully supporting her career, trying to balance, all of the hardships that come along with it. I think that you can prove to any employer, no matter what field you're in, that you're able to kind of overcome those hardships outside of the workforce, and therefore you should be able to, or at least can, in the workforce as well.
Okay, so Liz, now you've been a military spouse for how long now?
2 decades.
So your first touch point with the Army was coaching cadets. What was that like?
So my first career was coaching college basketball. I grew up knowing that was exactly what I wanted to do with my life.
Hold on
wanted
now.
to go to.
Say that again?
Yeah. I coached college basketball for over a decade. It's what I knew I wanted to do as my dream. And so I went to Hofstra University. I played Division I soccer and basketball there, set myself up for a coaching career. But eventually I was leaving Hofstra University, and it was right in the spring following 9/11. And somebody came to me and said, I think you need to go interview up at West Point. And I said, no, I want to go to University of Southern Miss. I got up there. I spent 2 days up there, and I never left. I was just hook, line, and sinker. So it was really a seminal moment, I felt like, in my coaching career to go coach the future leaders of America.
Tell us about those years, about cadet values, about leadership, and how you saw it in sport.
Yeah, it really reshaped how I envisioned sport and coaching. I used to have very much so the mentality of we have to go out, we have to win, we have to recruit student athletes that are going to help us win. And through the lens of my time at West Point, I learned that really what coaching is going into a teenager's house and vetting them and making sure they're the right fit for the type of culture you're trying to build, bringing them into your team and helping them progress every year, not only in their athletic skills, but in the skills that are going to allow us to return them to the communities that they're going to in the future to become great leaders in those communities. And so I really started to change my vision of what it meant to coach a student athlete based on the time and the lens that I had the opportunity to develop while I was coaching at West Point. And I think out of everywhere I've been, the folks that I had the chance to interact with there and the women I had the chance to go recruit and that coach, teach, mentor, guide piece, they have very much so stayed a part of my life for the last 2 decades.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So Liz, you met your husband while you were at West Point.
At West Point, every sport gets to keep an AI, a grad assistant. And he had blown his knee out and he got caught up in medical hold while he was there. And he was coaching wrestling and I was coaching basketball. And we had the opportunity to cross paths. And then he got orders to go to Hawaii. And we knew there was a deployment coming. And I felt like that was the right time to move.
Oh, yeah. So how did marrying into the Army, how did that change your career and identity immediately?
Yeah, immediately. Decide to move to Hawaii. Started to hear the rumblings about, military spouses start to take pay cuts and have trouble finding jobs. And I was like, I'm a Division I basketball coach. This won't be a problem. And I ended up at the University of Hawaii, but I had to take a job that I had done probably 12 years early, at the early part of my career, just so I could stay in college basketball. And we went through we lived in 7 places in 9 years. It didn't matter how good I was at my specific skill set. There were too many overlaying factors around the moves. Is there a college in that town? Is there a basketball program? Is there a job open? And you start taking pay cuts and going backwards in your career. And so you go from New York to Hawaii to California to Kansas to Kentucky to Germany back to DC. It just becomes more difficult and more difficult to, especially something like college basketball.
Yeah.
It's extremely unique and can't be done remotely.
So as you moved, permanent change of station, or PCS as we call it, how many times did you move in your husband's career with the Army?
After we hit 7 times in 9 years and got to DC, I said, I think I'm going to stay here with the kids. And if you need to go other places, we're going to keep this as our home base. It's been an interesting, different approach to serving.
Right. So how did you focus yourself to get to where you needed to be and what you needed to do?
When we moved to DC, I felt like I had to make a career change and reached out to a friend that was then at Hiring Our Heroes and asked, I had a very specific ask, can you hand me off to the Washington Wizard? And she kind of laughed and smiled and said, no, but I have an opening here at Hiring Our Heroes. Would you interview? And she told me about the mission. I said, yes, I will come. This resonates with me. And so at the age of 40, after having coached Division I basketball for quite a while, I took the lowest paying job at Hiring Our Heroes. I came in as a coordinator, lowest entry level job, and started my career over again. And so it was a lot of humble pie. And so I think that gave me a tremendous amount of also empathy, which is really important as you're looking to shape how we change the future for military spouses.
So Josh, let's go over to you for a minute. So first of all, tell us, how long have you been on the Army spouse journey, right? And Elizabeth mentioned something about a unique degree. What is that? And what do you do now?
Yeah. So I've been married to my wife, Hannah, for 8 years now. She enlisted in the Army, I think about a year before we got married. So I've been with her for 10 years. She's been enlisted for 9 years or so. But yeah, we met in college at the University of Kentucky. So my degree was in mechanical engineering. I did an internship my last year of college in a manufacturing industry. Quickly decided that's not the route that I really wanted to take after college. So I went into technical sales I didn't have any issues there transferring or transitioning careers. I was able to, still keep a sales role, was traveling a lot for the first 2 years or so. And then our daughter, Chloe, was born at the end of 2022. And I was still traveling, 4 days a week. My wife, she was in residency, so she was working 70, 80-hour weeks, which was really tough on our family. And then 8 months after Chloe was born, I decided to transition to another employer, still working in sales, but only traveling about once a month instead. And then about 8 months after, starting that new position, we found out we're going to be moving to Fort Wainwright, Alaska, where we are now.
Did you know that as a member of AUSA, you have access to many benefits? From car rental to entertainment discounts, the opportunities are ample. Visit us online at ausa.org/benefits to learn more.
Welcome back to Army Matters. Liz, tell us, why does spouse employment directly affect retention, readiness, national security? Why is this so important to the component of what a soldier does in his or her mission?
Surveys prove it. DoD's own surveys prove, one of the top reasons that service members are separating is because their spouse doesn't have opportunity to go to work. And we live in an environment now where Americans at large need dual income. And so when we don't have an opportunity for our military families to come alongside and have that equal opportunity to compete, to secure employment, we start to have conversations around our own dining room table at night, right? Can we afford this? Can I pay the bills for our kids? Can we put food on our table? That is how we can, how contributes directly to national security, because there's separation discussions that happen at home.
When I testified to Congress the 5 years I was a Sergeant of the Army, every single year I testified to the Personnel Subcommittee, this was one of the top issues. That's how serious this is, because, the old saying goes, you enlist a soldier, but you retain a family. And this is a challenge. But let's just talk about a little bit, what is hiring our heroes? What do you specifically do? How do we help the issues that you're talking about?
When Hiring Our Heroes first launched back in 2011, we were a small events-based business, just going to community, because there was the crisis at large of veterans returning home from war with no jobs. And then when Eric Eversole came in to take over as our president in 2013, he really expanded that vision, right? Where it wasn't just events-based, but hey, let's get onto the installations before people return to communities that are unemployed. And then we started working through, how do we really solve for military spouses? It can't just be hiring events. We have to have wraparound services and build an ecosystem. How do you build a resume that connects with employers? How do you build a LinkedIn profile? All the things. And military spouses, it's a complex problem because we are looking for work in multiple locations over a decade, over 2 decades. And so the needs change in every place. And so what I might need is a 20-year-old with entry-level skills. Just starting out looking for a job is very different than when you're 40 years old. And so we've really worked to build an ecosystem at Hiring Our Heroes that meets military spouses, not only in the communities they're in, but the point of life that they're in.
So talk to us about those frequent moves, starting over. What does that teach you about resilience?
You find out really how resilient you are and how creative you are and how much you want to go to work. You find out truly what resilience means because you have to go through a process often where you're humbled, right? You may be top of the mountain here and you come back and you have to start over and you have to come in at a mid-level point or an entry point just so that you can find a pathway to success.
So Josh, over to you. So how does the frequent experience, even though you moved a couple, 2-3 times now, starting over, teach you about resilience? How does that help you with your resilience?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of have that mindset coming into it. And I definitely did not before we moved to Alaska. I didn't even think about, losing my job being a possibility, but it absolutely was. So I think, having that mindset that anything could happen, not just in your career, but in your personal life as well. But just having to be able to deal with that and find a community to help support you has been huge for me. I think having a community that can help support you emotionally, whatever you need, has been huge for us.
Now, What do employers often misunderstand about military spouses, Liz?
They don't understand our full capabilities. And very often they look at a resume and immediately say, oh, where do you live? Especially if you're applying near a military installation, right? And they want to pull the reason back that you're a military spouse to not be able to hire you. But what we need employers to understand is that when you hire me, you have the opportunity to retain me for a career, right? So millennials are changing jobs every 2 to 3 years. I can be an unbelievable value add because if you give me an opportunity and allow me to progress, I'm going to stay with you. Military spouses are more than happy to come to an office, go to work. And then when we get PCS orders, we understand the culture, we've built our relationships, and allowing a military spouse to then work in a setting that's remote or hybrid becomes really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So Josh, over to you.
Very similar to what Liz said as well. I think it's easy for an employer to look at a resume and just see that, I have a mechanical engineering degree. I have 7 years of technical sales experience, but tweak my resume and make myself a better employee or potential employee. And I think that's a huge thing for potential employers to know that, personally for me, I have a multifaceted background that can be really valuable to almost any employer.
Yeah. So let's dig into that now. So tell us about the Career Forward program and how that helped you with your transition.
Yeah. So when we moved to Alaska, like I said, I spent some time looking for a new job in sales. Didn't work out at all. I didn't want to sit here at home for 2 to 3 years while we were here in Alaska, unemployed. I didn't want to do something that was outside of my skill set either, at least too far outside of my skill set. So I began looking at training programs online. Eventually came across Hiring Our Heroes in the Career Forward program. Went ahead and applied for that. About 6 months after we moved here, then began the certification program. But I went down the data analytics certification pathway, and that was through Google. Was able to work through it relatively fast, and then do a really nice capstone project to be able to put on my resume. Almost completely revamp my resume. That resume went into a candidacy pool for all of Hiring Our Heroes partners. So I was reached out to by a company who wanted me to come on as a transmission engineer. During the interview, they talked a little bit more about my data analytics certification, and then eventually accepted an 11-week fellowship with this company as well.
And so Josh, I understand that you completed the fellowship and you have some good news to tell our listeners. Everybody wants to know. Come on, tell us what's happening.
Yeah. So the fellowship, I completed it December of last year. Like I said, it was an 11-week fellowship, and by week 8, they actually gave me a full-time job offer, and I accepted it. I've been in the role for about a month now, not just doing data analytics, but I've worked my way up to doing machine learning and artificial intelligence work with this company. And so one of the huge benefits of Hiring Our Heroes, they really helped me jumpstart this new career change, and I'm super, super grateful for that.
Liz, back to you on Career Forward program. How does this help families? And tell us, how does it actually work? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So our Career Forward program was launched in collaboration with Google. And really, it's a learner to earner program, right? Where we're not just getting you a certificate and dumping you out there to find your own pathway. You get to come in, you gain industry recognized skills through the certificate that you choose. And then while you're going through, and we have an opportunity to match you with companies. And so now if you are a military spouse, active duty, or you're a transitioning service member, you get to go through the fellowship. And for me, from the standpoint of a military spouse, having an opportunity to do an internship with a company, you get the certificate, you get matched with the company, is the single most impactful way we can get a military spouse quickly into the workforce. And so through that Career Forward program, we have upskilled over 10,000 members of the military connected community in just a little over 3 years. And then being able to match them in the fellows side is unbelievably impactful.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, how many of those positions land permanent employment?
Well, on our fellowship side, we know about 85% get offered employment. On the military spouse side, they have a starting salary of about $70,000.
So Liz, I want to pull on that too a little bit. So do you see unique challenges across the different services in this area with spouse employment?
No, it's an issue for all branches, certainly, wherever we go. And we find that some branches are investing more. The Army's a great one. Marine Corps is investing a lot into military spouses and creating employment. And oftentimes they're also doing it in partnership with their associations. Partnership is really important. But by and large, it's an issue across all branches.
All right. So, Liz, how do you see the leadership you provide outside of the uniform and why it's so critical?
Yeah, unbelievably critical what we do each and every day when we wake up, because we have an opportunity to have a positive impact on a service member's family's life, whether that's Army or not. We serve everybody, certainly. But what we are doing is allowing families to serve with less stress on their shoulders each and every day. And I had serious concerns when I transitioned from college basketball. Would I be able to find that meaning and purpose? And it is exactly the same. You wake up every day and you feel motivated to serve the people that are part of your community. And it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable privilege that I don't think anybody at Hiring Our Heroes takes for granted on any single day.
So Liz, if I'm a spouse, military spouse, and I need help, first question is, how do I get involved? And second question, if I'm an employer and I want to start taking advantage of the highly educated, highly qualified military spouses, how do I get involved?
You can head on over to hiringourheroes.org. You can click the employer button or the job seeker button. You can also reach out to me at uschamber.com or on LinkedIn. The single most impactful piece that has to remain is the human intervention. And that's something that we're really committed to at Hiring Our Heroes.
So Josh, over to you. So you are a military spouse supporting a serving doctor and Army officer. How does that make you feel when it comes to your service to the Army and to the nation?
My job as her husband and, her number one fan is just to support her in everything that I do. And there have been, a lot of times where it's been really tough, like 80-hour work weeks during residency, having to support all of these moves and also, support her emotionally as well, I think has been the most difficult part. A lot of very difficult times at the hospital she works at right now, a lot of very difficult situations with some children and their families, and helping to support her and make sure that she has a safe haven that she can come home to, so she can, better perform her duties as a doctor has been, hard, but well worth it.
We really have to relay that to our other spouses as we're talking about Hire Our Heroes, that the role and part they play to support their service members is a big deal. Dan and I would not be where we are without our spouses.
So for both of you, just if you had a message for our listeners about military spouse employment, or to employers out there about the value of hiring a military spouse. Elizabeth, for you, go first, please. What would you say?
Absolutely take the chance, flip over the resume, sit down, have a conversation with the person that's applying for the job. Get to know the military spouse as a human being, understand what they bring to the table, understand their nonlinear progression in the workforce and the career.
Now, Josh, over to you for one last word too, and I'm going to change it up for you a little bit. For other military spouses out there taking this journey now, what are your words to them?
I say, just do it. Honestly, Hiring Our Heroes is great. Like the structured pathway, the accountability, the support. They just don't help individuals find jobs. They, really help families create stability in what's, an inherently unstable lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for your service because, as we say, soldiers serve in uniform. Families stand behind them and serve alongside them every single day. So thanks for your incredible work, Liz. And Josh, you keep supporting that soldier.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Leslie. And thank you all for everything that you all have done for the soldiers of our country and their families as well.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Army Matters is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith and SMA Retired Dan Dailey, and anchor hosted by Carrie Barrow-Heckes. Andy Bosnack is the associate producer and supervising sound editor. Major Ryan Crane is the writer, and Ellen Toner is the content editor. Umzinga Curry is the executive producer. Carrie Barrow-Heckes is the senior producer, and Savannah Campbell-Smith is the producer. Be sure to subscribe to Army Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Wreath. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you're not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. I'm LaSharon Duncan, hoping you have a great Army day. Hooah!